What happened in my home office that Tuesday afternoon in March 2021 changed the trajectory of my entire life. I was 47 years old, teaching sophomore English over Zoom during the pandemic, and I had just made a decision that I thought would save my marriage. Instead, it nearly destroyed me. But let me start from the beginning, because you need to understand how I ended up in that office, in that house, with that man, staring at a screen, while 23 15-year-olds witnessed something no child should ever see. I met Marcus Webb in October 2015 at a TED conference in Seattle. I was 41, a high school English teacher who had saved for 2 years to afford the ticket, still living alone in a small apartment in Northeast Portland. Marcus was 45, a marketing executive at a tech company, and he seemed like everything I had been too busy to look for. He was tall, well-spoken, and when he quoted Brené Brown during his presentation on vulnerability and leadership, I felt something shift in my chest. He noticed me in the audience, caught my eye, and smiled like we shared a secret. During the coffee break, he walked straight up to me. "You're the only person in this room who actually laughed at my joke about toxic masculinity," he said. His voice was warm, confident. "I'm Marcus, and I really hope you're not married because I'd like to take you to dinner tonight." I laughed nervously. "I'm Joe. And no, I'm not married. I've been too focused on my career." "A woman who prioritizes herself," he said, nodding with what looked like genuine respect. "That's exactly the kind of person I've been hoping to meet." Our first date lasted 6 hours. We talked about everything from literature to social justice to our childhoods. Marcus told me about growing up with a single mother who worked 3 jobs, how he put himself through business school, how he believed in dismantling patriarchal structures from the inside. He asked about my experience as a first-generation Chinese American, listened without interrupting, and said things like, "That must have been so hard and you're incredibly strong." When he dropped me off at my hotel, he texted me before I even got to my room. "I haven't felt this connected to someone in years. Thank you for tonight." Then another text. "Actually, can I be honest? I'm already thinking about when I can see you again." And another. "Sorry if this is too much. I just don't want to play games. Life's too short." I thought it was romantic. I thought it meant he was emotionally available, secure enough to be vulnerable. I didn't know then that love bombing has a name, that it's a tactic, that it's the first step in a very specific pattern. We started a long-distance relationship. Marcus lived in Seattle, I was in Portland, and every weekend one of us would make the 3-hour drive. He sent flowers to my classroom every Monday with notes that said things like, "You're changing the world, one student at a time, and I'm so proud to know you." My colleagues were jealous. My students thought it was adorable. My best friend Amy said, "Finally, Joe, you deserve someone who sees how amazing you are." 6 months in, Marcus asked me to move in with him. "I know it's fast," he said, "but we're not kids anymore. We know what we want, and I want you, every day. Not just weekends." I hesitated. I loved my apartment, my independence, my routine. But Marcus made a compelling case. "Think about it practically," he said. "You're paying rent in Portland. I own a condo in Seattle with a view of the Sound. You could save money, maybe even go back to school for your master's. I want to support your dreams, Joe." So I moved. I transferred to a high school in Seattle, packed up my life, and merged into his. The condo was beautiful, modern, minimalist, expensive. Marcus had decorated everything himself. "I have pretty specific taste," he said, showing me around, "but we can redecorate together if you want to add your touch." The first time I saw the other Marcus was about 3 months after I moved in. I had bought throw pillows for the couch, deep red ones that I thought would add warmth to the gray color scheme. I arranged them while Marcus was at work, proud of how they brightened the space. When he came home, he stopped in the doorway. His face didn't change exactly, but something in his eyes went flat. "What are those?" "Pillows," I said, smiling. "I thought they'd add some color." "Where did you get them?" "HomeGoods. They were on sale. I used my own money, don't worry." Marcus walked slowly to the couch and picked up one of the pillows. He examined it like it was evidence in a crime. "Joe, this condo has a very specific aesthetic. Gray, white, black. It's sophisticated. These are," he paused, "suburban. They look like something from a clearance bin." I felt my face get hot. I just thought they'd make it feel more like home. This is home, he said, his voice still calm, still measured. My home. And I've worked very hard to create a space that reflects who I am. I need you to respect that. I do respect that. I just thought since I live here too. You do live here, he interrupted, setting the pillow down carefully. In my home. That I bought. That I decorated. I'm not trying to be controlling, babe. I just have standards. Is that really so terrible? I apologized. I returned the pillows the next day. Marcus thanked me for understanding, kissed me on the forehead, and said, "This is why I love you. You're reasonable. You listen." And I felt relieved, like I'd passed a test I didn't know I was taking. Things didn't escalate all at once. That's what people don't understand about this kind of relationship. It's not like one day everything is fine and the next day you're in danger. It's more like standing in fog that gets thicker so gradually you don't realize you can't see until you're completely blind. Marcus had opinions about everything. What I wore to work? That dress is a little tight, don't you think? You're a teacher, not a college student. How I spent my free time? You're going to book club again? We barely see each other as it is. Who I talked to, Amy called 3 times this week. Is she okay? She seems kind of needy. He phrased everything as concern, as advice, as partnership. I'm not telling you what to do, he'd say. I'm just sharing my perspective because I care about you. And because he never yelled, never got visibly angry, I kept thinking I was overreacting. My salary went into our joint account. Marcus said it made sense, we're partners, we should combine finances. But when I needed money for anything beyond groceries or gas, I had to ask, "Why do you need $50? He'd say, "What's it for?" Not aggressive, just curious. Reasonable. I'm not saying no, babe. I'm just trying to understand our expenses. Slowly, my friends stopped calling. Amy tried for a while, but Marcus was always there when she called, always listening to my side of the conversation, always asking afterward, what did Amy want? Is everything okay with her? Until I started letting her calls go to voicemail. Until she stopped trying. In November 2017, I was nominated for Teacher of the Year at my school. I was thrilled it came with a small grant and recognition I'd worked years to earn. When I told Marcus over dinner, he put down his fork. "That's great, babe," he said, but his smile was tight. They just nominate one person from each department, right? Not like the actual best teacher? Well, it's voted on by students and faculty. I'm sure you're very popular, he said, picking up his fork again. You're easy on them. They probably appreciate that you don't challenge them too much. The words landed like stones in my stomach. I do challenge them. I'm not saying you don't. I'm just saying, you're not exactly rigorous, which is fine. Not everyone has to be. You're more of a emotional support teacher, which is valuable too. I didn't finish my dinner. I went to bed early. Marcus came in later, wrapped his arms around me, and whispered, "I'm sorry if I hurt your feelings. I'm proud of you, I really am. I just don't want you to get a big head. Pride comes before the fall and all that." The first time Marcus physically hurt me was in February 2018. We were arguing I can't even remember about what, and I turned to walk away. He grabbed my arm to stop me. Not hard, just firm. But when I pulled back, he didn't let go right away, and I stumbled into the corner of the kitchen island. The edge caught my ribs, knocked the wind out of me. "Oh my God, Joe, I'm so sorry," Marcus said immediately, rushing to help me. "Are you okay? I was just trying to keep you from leaving while we were talking. I didn't mean for you to fall. I had a bruise on my side for 2 weeks. Marcus checked on it every day, brought me ice, apologized profusely. I feel terrible," he kept saying. "I would never intentionally hurt you. You know that, right?" And I did know that. Or I thought I did, because Marcus wasn't like abusive men you see in movies. He didn't drink. He didn't yell. He was successful, respected, feminist. He read books about emotional intelligence. He couldn't be an abuser, which meant it really was an accident, which meant I was being dramatic. In March 2020, when COVID hit and everything shut down, I thought maybe things would get better. We'd have time together, time to reconnect. Instead, I learned what it's like to be trapped with someone 24 hours a day with no escape route. Marcus set up his home office in the second bedroom. I taught from the dining room table. He could hear every word of my Zoom classes, and afterward, he always had notes. "You said, 17 times in that lesson. It makes you sound uncertain. That kid in the back wasn't paying attention. You need to be firmer. Why did you extend that deadline?" "You're teaching them that deadlines don't matter." I started dreading my classes, started second-guessing every word. My students noticed I could see it in their faces on the screen. Miss Chen seemed different, quieter, less confident. Marcus's company went through layoffs in January 2021. He wasn't let go, but his position was restructured, less responsibility, same salary. He started drinking during the day. Not drunk, just constantly sipping whiskey while he worked. His criticism got sharper. "Your voice is so grating when you do that teachery tone. You spend more time on your students than on me. Must be nice to have a guaranteed salary while the rest of us actually have to perform." In March 2021, my principal called to tell me I was being promoted to department chair. It came with a $15,000 raise and leadership responsibilities. I was shocked, honored, terrified to tell Marcus. I waited until after dinner. "I got some news today," I said carefully. "The school offered me department chair." Marcus looked up from his laptop. "And you said no, right?" What? You said no. You're not qualified for that. You've only been there 4 years. They think I'm qualified. That's why they offered it to me." He closed his laptop slowly. "Joe, be realistic. You can barely handle your current classes. I hear you every day, stumbling through lessons. You really think you can lead other teachers?" "Yes," I said, and my voice was shaking, but I kept going. "Yes, I do. And I'm going to accept." "No, you're not." "Yes, I am." I've already told them yes. The air in the room changed. Marcus stood up, and I instinctively took a step back. "You already accepted?" His voice was very quiet. "Without discussing it with me?" "It's my job, my career. Everything you have is because of me. This house, this life. You'd still be in that shitty Portland apartment if it wasn't for me. And this is how you repay me? By making major decisions without me? Marcus, this isn't about you. Everything is about me," he shouted. And I flinched because he never yelled. "Never. I am the reason you have anything. You're just a teacher. You're replaceable. You're nothing special." He left the room, slammed the bedroom door. I stood in the kitchen, shaking, trying to breathe. The next morning, he apologized, brought me coffee in bed. "I'm sorry I raised my voice. Work has been really stressful. But babe, I need you to think about us, about our partnership. This promotion is going to take time away from our relationship. Is that really what you want?" I looked at him, this man I'd lived with for 5 years, this man who'd systematically dismantled my confidence, my friendships, my sense of self, and I made a decision I thought would save us. "I'll call the principal," I said. "I'll decline." Marcus's face relaxed. He kissed my forehead. "That's my girl. You're doing the right thing." I called Principal Hayes that afternoon and declined the position. She was disappointed but understanding. "If you change your mind, Joe, the offer stands." I thought that was the end of it. I thought Marcus would be happy. I thought maybe now he'd be the man I met at that conference again. But 2 weeks later, Principal Hayes called my cell while I was teaching. I let it go to voicemail. She called again during lunch, and again after school. I finally answered. "Joe, I'm confused," she said. "I just got your signed acceptance form for department chair in my mailbox this morning." My blood went cold. "What?" "The form you filled out accepting the position. It's dated from before our phone call. Did you change your mind?" "I need to call you back," I managed to say. I found the form in my email sent from my account, signed with my digital signature, dated 3 weeks ago. Before I'd told Marcus. Before I'd declined. He had known. He had seen the form in my email and known I'd accepted. And he'd made me decline anyway. I waited until Marcus got home. "We need to talk," I said. "Can it wait? I have a headache." "No, it can't." My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. "You knew I'd accepted the promotion. You saw the form. And you made me decline anyway." Marcus's face went very still. "Made you? I didn't make you do anything. You chose to prioritize our relationship. You lied to me. I protected you from making a mistake that would have hurt us both. You don't get to make that decision for me. I'm your partner. That's exactly what partners do. No, I said, and the word felt like it took all my strength. No, that's not partnership. That's control. Marcus stood up slowly. You need to be very careful about what you say next, Joe. I'm calling Principal Hayes back. I'm accepting the position. No, you're not. Yes, I am. This is my career. My life. Your life? He laughed, but there was nothing funny in it. You don't have a life without me. You have nothing without me. He took a step toward me. I took a step back. Marcus, you're scaring me. I'm scaring you? I've given you everything. Everything. And you're going to throw it away because you think you're some hotshot teacher? You're just a teacher, Joe. You're not special. You're not important. You're replaceable. Stop, I said. But he kept coming, kept talking, his voice getting louder, his face getting closer. You think you're better than me now? You think your little $15,000 raise makes you better than me? You're nothing. You're nothing. I turned to go into the bedroom. My hand was on the door when his hand closed around my upper arm. Tight, too tight. We're not done talking, he said. Let me go. No. You don't get to walk away from me. I tried to pull free, and he yanked me back, hard. I stumbled. My shoulder hit the wall. And then his other hand was around my throat, not squeezing, just there, just holding, but the message was clear. You're going to call your principal, he said, his face inches from mine. And you're going to decline that promotion. Permanently. Or, I swear to God, Joe, you will regret it. What I didn't know, what Marcus didn't know, was that my laptop was open in the home office, that I had a Zoom class starting in 2 minutes, that my computer had automatically connected when the time hit 2 p.m., that 23 sophomore students and my teaching assistant were staring at a screen showing Marcus with his hand around my throat and me pressed against the wall. Later, I would learn that Emma Rodriguez, a 15-year-old in my third period class, recorded the whole thing on her phone, that she sent it to the school counselor, that the counselor called 911. In that moment, all I knew was that I heard my laptop ping with the Zoom notification. Marcus heard it too. His head snapped toward the office. His hand dropped from my throat. Shit, he whispered. I ran. Through the office door, past the laptop, into the bathroom. I locked the door and called 911 myself, my hands shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. The operator answered. 911. What's your emergency? My partner just assaulted me. I'm locked in the bathroom. I think my students saw it on Zoom. I don't know what to do. Are you safe right now? I'm locked in the bathroom. He's outside the door. I'm sending officers to your location. Stay on the line with me. I could hear Marcus in the office, frantically trying to explain to my class that I had fallen, that I was okay, that they must have misunderstood what they saw. But Emma Rodriguez's voice came through, loud and clear. We saw what you did. We recorded it. The police are already coming. The police arrived in 6 minutes. They knocked. Marcus answered, calm and collected. Concerned husband, I'm not sure why you're here. My girlfriend had a little stumble. But she's fine. Sir, we need to speak with Josephine Chen. She's resting. She hit her head. She's a little disoriented. Sir, step aside. We need to see Miss Chen. Now. I heard all of this from the bathroom. When the officer knocked on the door and identified himself, I opened it. My throat was red where Marcus had held it. My shoulder was already bruising. The officer took photos, asked questions, told me I didn't have to press charges but that he strongly recommended it. Marcus was arrested that afternoon, taken out of the condo in handcuffs while I sat on the couch with a female officer who looked at me with something like recognition in her eyes. I know this is hard, she said, but you did the right thing calling. That took real courage. I started crying and couldn't stop. What happened next moved faster than I could process. The school district put me on paid leave while they investigated not as punishment, but as protection. Principal Hayes called personally. Take whatever time you need, Joe. Your job is safe. Your promotion is waiting when you're ready. And every single one of your students has written you letters. They want you to know they support you. My colleague and friend David Kim showed up at the condo the next day with boxes. "I'm helping you pack," he said, not asking, telling. "You're not staying here." "I don't have anywhere to go." "Yes, you do. My wife and I have a guest room. It's yours for as long as you need it." Amy flew in from Portland that weekend. We hadn't spoken in 6 months, but she didn't mention it. She just hugged me and said, "I'm here. I've always been here." Marcus's sister Sarah called me 3 days later. Sarah the lawyer, Sarah who'd always been so polite at family dinners. "Joe, I need you to drop the charges against my brother. He's under enormous stress. He didn't mean to hurt you. You're ruining his life over one mistake." "He didn't make a mistake," I said, my voice steady. "He made a choice. He's been making choices to hurt me for years." "That's not how Marcus tells it. He says you're mentally unstable, that you manipulated him into this relationship and now you're trying to destroy him because you didn't get your way." "Then that's what he says. But I'm not dropping the charges, and I'm not speaking to you again." I hung up before she could respond, and something inside me felt different, stronger. The criminal case took 9 months. Marcus pleaded no contest to assault. He got a suspended sentence, probation, and mandatory counseling. The judge granted me a 5-year restraining order. The civil case, the one where I sued him for my half of everything I'd paid into during our 5 years together, took another year. His lawyers tried to argue that since his name was on the condo, I had no claim. But I had receipts. 5 years of bank transfers. 5 years of paying half the mortgage, half the utilities, half of everything while he controlled all the accounts. I got $67,000. It wasn't half of what I'd paid in. It wasn't justice, but it was enough. I moved back to Portland in August 2022. Got a 1-bedroom apartment with a view of nothing special, but it was mine. Bought throw pillows in every color. Hung artwork I liked. Made decisions without asking permission. I went back to teaching that fall. Back to my old school district. Principal Martinez welcomed me back like I'd never left. My students were kind, curious, careful. They'd heard rumors, but they didn't pry. In January 2023, I started volunteering at a domestic violence shelter. Just 2 hours a week at first, facilitating a support group. Later, I started going into schools to give presentations on recognizing unhealthy relationships. I brought Emma Rodriguez with me once she was 17 by then, starting to think about college. She told her story about being the student who recorded, who called for help, who refused to stay silent. "Miss Chen taught us that our voices matter," Emma said. "So I used mine. I'm 49 now. I live alone, by choice. I date sometimes, carefully. I've learned to recognize red flags, the love bombing, the isolation, the subtle erosion of autonomy. I've learned that I'm not controlling. I just have standards is controlling. That I'm just sharing my perspective because I care is manipulation. That anyone who makes you feel small is making a choice to do so." Marcus lost his job 6 months after the assault became public. His company didn't fire him, they restructured his position out of existence. He moved out of state. I don't know where and I don't care. Sarah never apologized, never acknowledged what her brother did. Last I heard, she was still practicing law in Seattle, still telling people her brother was the real victim. But I survived. More than survived, I rebuilt. I have friends who know my full story and love me anyway. I have a career I'm proud of. I have students who write me letters years after graduation, telling me I made a difference. I have a life that's mine, fully and completely mine. If you're reading this and you see yourself in my story, please hear me. It doesn't matter if your partner never raises their voice. It doesn't matter if they're successful, educated, respected. It doesn't matter if they phrase everything as concern or partnership or love. If they make you feel small, if they isolate you, if they control your money or your choices or your sense of reality, that's abuse. And you can leave. I know it feels impossible. I know you've convinced yourself you're overreacting, being too sensitive, not trying hard enough. I know you think you have nowhere to go, no money, no options. I thought all those things too. But there are people who will help. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24/7 at 1-800-799-7233. They will believe you. They will help you make a safety plan. They will connect you with resources. Your life doesn't end in that office, in that argument, In that moment when you realize the person you love is hurting you, your life continues. It gets better. It becomes yours again. I know because I lived it. Because I'm standing here, 7 years later, in my own apartment with my colorful pillows and my own bank account and my own choices. And every single day of freedom has been worth every single struggle it took to get here. You are not overreacting. You are not too sensitive. You are not imagining things. And you deserve better than what you're getting. Trust yourself. Save yourself. I did. And it gave me my life back. If you found this story helpful, please share it with someone who might need to hear it. You never know whose life you might help save. And remember, you are stronger than you know. You just have to reach for that strength. It's there. I promise. Thank you for listening.